You don't belong here. Het spreekt neer.
Take that off before you embarrass yourself. Coach Victor Lowe's voice cut across the Las Vegas weigh-in room and stopped 3 conversations at once. Denise Ward stood barefoot beside the scale, 42 years old, 5'4", and still wearing the gray work shirt she used to clean Victor's gym after closing. Younger fighters crowded the room in satin jackets while coaches held clipboards near the registration tables. Several recognized Denise as the woman who emptied the locker room trash. Victor pointed at the black tag tied to the pouch at her waist. You don't get to wear a rank marker because you mop around people who earned one. A laugh rose from the back row. Denise kept her hands loose at her sides. Give me my weigh-in form. Victor reached forward instead. He hooked 2 fingers under her belt pouch and pulled it from her hip, making the tag snap against the fabric. This is a pro-am bracket, he said, raising it for the room to see. Not a costume contest. Phones lifted. Denise's eyes fixed on his hand. Give it back. Victor smiled toward his broad-shouldered trainee, already waiting near Denise's weight class. The cleaner is giving orders now. The trainee had watched Denise train after midnight. He knew how she moved when the gym was empty, but with Victor watching, he stayed silent. At the tournament desk official, Mara Ellis paused over her forms. The digital clock above her read 6:20 p.m. 40 minutes remained before weigh-in closed. Victor dropped the pouch onto the table. You are not cleared for my card. You are too small, too old, and nowhere near the rank required to enter my ring. My registration was accepted 3 weeks ago, Denise said. Registrations get corrected. By whom? Several smiles faded. Victor leaned closer. By the person responsible for keeping unqualified fighters from getting hurt. He tapped the bracket sheet. Denise's name was gone. His trainee's name filled the final open slot. Denise studied it. Where is my tournament license file? Victor's answer came too fast. There is no file. Mara lifted her head. Every approved fighter has one, Denise said. Every legitimate fighter, Victor replied. A camera light blinked near the wall. Victor raised his voice for the audience. Cleaning a gym does not make you a fighter. Carrying an old tag does not make you ranked. Showing up here does not make you welcome. The insult worked because Denise looked exactly like the person he wanted them to dismiss. Her sleeve carried a pale streak of disinfectant. Her non-slip work shoes waited beneath the scale. Then Victor picked up the tag again. 4 worn characters were stamped on one side. He covered them with his thumb before anyone nearby could read them. Denise noticed. So did Mara. Put it down, Mara said. Victor glanced at her. This is a gym matter. This is a licensed tournament. And I control the card. For the moment, Denise said. The room quieted. Victor faced her. What does that mean? Denise reached into one shoe and removed a folded paper sealed inside a clear plastic sleeve. She placed it beside the scale without opening it. Victor stared at the sleeve. Something uncertain crossed his face. I want the original license file brought to this desk, Denise said. Mara checked the clock. Records closes with weigh-in. Then we have 40 minutes. Victor laughed, but too quickly. Waste all 40. Nothing in that file puts you in this bracket. Denise held his gaze. I think you already know what is in it. No one laughed now. A witness lowered his phone and began watching Victor instead. Mara pulled the desk phone closer. His trainee's name remained in a slot that had belonged to Denise. Beneath Victor's thumb, the rank code stayed hidden. Before 700, one of those details would expose why Denise's name had vanished. It would also cost Victor control of the tournament card he had built his reputation around. But to understand why a gym cleaner entered a Las Vegas weigh-in carrying proof her coach wanted buried, the story had to go back 6 weeks after midnight inside an empty gym when Denise found her registration envelope already opened. 6 weeks earlier, Denise Ward finished cleaning Victor Lowe's gym at 12:47 in the morning. The last heavy bag had stopped swinging. The showers had gone quiet. Only the fluorescent lights above the training floor remained on humming over blue mats marked by years of bare feet and taped ankles. Denise pushed the mop bucket into the supply room and checked the cleaning list clipped beside the door. Locker rooms, front desk, mirrors, mats, trash. Every box was marked. Her paid shift was over. She changed in the employee restroom, folding the gray work shirt into her canvas bag and pulling on black training pants and a faded sweatshirt. Then she returned to the empty floor, tied back her hair, and began wrapping her hands. That hour belonged to her. Victor allowed her to train after closing because it cost him nothing. No coaches, no classes, no use of the main ring when fighters from his official team were still inside. Denise had accepted those rules without complaint. So began with footwork along the edge of the mat. Forward, angle, pivot, reset. Her movements were compact, practiced, and quiet. She never struck harder than the drill required. She never performed for the security cameras mounted above the mirrors. At 42, she had learned that discipline rarely looked impressive from a distance. It looked like repetition. Her black belt pouch rested beside her water bottle. The tag attached to it was worn smooth at the corners, the lettering faded from years of use. Most people saw an old piece of plastic. Denise saw the hand that had given it to her. Her first coach, Raymond Ward, had been her father. He had taught boxing at a community center before adding grappling classes when Denise was 14. He believed rank should be difficult to earn and easy to carry. Never use it to make someone feel smaller, he used to say. Raymond died 3 years earlier after a long illness. The community gym closed soon after, and its fighters scattered across Nevada. Denise kept only a few things from those years: his timer, one pair of cracked focus mitts, and the tag he had fastened to her belt after her final Federation assessment. She had not worn it publicly since his funeral. Not until the Pro-Am application required verified rank. Denise finished 5 rounds of shadowboxing, then moved to the heavy bag. The chain rattled softly with each combination. Jab, body shot, pivot out. She was halfway through the next round when she noticed a white envelope on the front desk. Her name had been written across it in blue ink. Denise Ward Tournament Registration. She stopped the timer. The envelope should have been sealed. Instead, the flap had been opened and pressed shut again. Denise dried her hands before touching it. Inside were the application copy, the medical clearance instructions, and a note confirming that her Federation record would be matched with the tournament's license file. The ranking card copy she had submitted was missing. She checked the floor beneath the desk, then the wastebasket. Nothing. Behind her, the office door opened. Victor walked out wearing a tailored track jacket with his gym logo stitched across the chest. He carried his phone in one hand and a set of car keys in the other. "You're still here." My registration envelope was opened. Victor barely glanced at it. The front desk checks incomplete applications. Was mine incomplete? I don't handle paperwork. The ranking card copy is gone. He slipped the phone into his pocket. Submit another one. Denise watched him cross toward the exit. Did the tournament request it? Victor stopped near the door. For a moment, only the timer beeped behind her. Then he faced her with the patient expression he used when sponsors were nearby. "Denise, these brackets move fast. They want active competitors with recent gym records. You have experience, but experience is not the same as readiness. My license is current." "I didn't say it wasn't. You implied the bracket might reject it." Victor smiled. "I'm trying to protect you from mistaking paperwork for opportunity." Denise folded the application back into the envelope. "I earned the opportunity before I filled out the paperwork." His smile thinned. Victor's own trainee, Caleb Ross, had entered the gym from the rear hallway. He was 27, powerful, and listed 1 division above Denise until a late withdrawal opened space in her bracket. Caleb paused when he saw the envelope. Victor noticed. "We'll discuss this during office hours," he said. Then he left. Caleb waited until the front door locked behind him. "You applying for the Desert Crown card?" he asked. Denise placed the envelope in her bag. "I already applied." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Coach said that last slot might go to me if they approve the weight change." Denise said nothing. Caleb's eyes dropped toward the old tag beside her bottle. "He told me your rank couldn't be verified." "That is not true. I'm only telling you what he said." The words were careful, but the meaning was not. Victor had already begun preparing the gym to accept Denise's removal as an administrative mistake. Caleb picked up his duffel. "You know how these cards work. Coaches choose who gets backed. Federations verify who qualifies." He gave a small shrug and left through the side door. Denise stood alone beneath the lights. She could have withdrawn. The tournament purse was modest and winning, would not erase the bills stacked on her kitchen table. Her cleaning wages covered rent, groceries, and the monthly payment on Raymond's remaining medical debt. The Pro-Am card offered no guarantee beyond one sanctioned fight and the chance to rebuild a record interrupted by years of caregiving. But walking away would let Victor replace merit with permission. Denise took a photograph of the opened envelope. Then she went home and opened a metal box beneath her bed. Inside, protected between two sheets of cardboard, was the original ranking card. The Federation seal was visible in the lower corner. Her status division and renewal date were printed clearly across the front. She made 2 copies at an all-night print shop. One went into her training bag. The other she mailed to herself by certified post, still sealed with the date stamped across the envelope. By sunrise, she had also requested written confirmation that her tournament license file had been created. The reply arrived 2 days later. File active. Rank verified. Eligibility pending final weigh-in. Denise read it twice. Then she returned to work and said nothing. Over the following weeks, Victor moved Caleb into her sparring sessions, reassigned her training times, and stopped posting updates about the card where she could see them. 3 days before weigh-in, Denise asked the front desk for her final check-in schedule. Her name was no longer on the gym's printed roster. At the bottom of the page beneath Caleb's name, someone had written, "Final bracket subject to coach approval." Denise folded the page and placed it beside the black belt tag. The weigh-in window would last only 40 minutes, and Victor was already building a version of the story in which she had never qualified at all. Victor Lowe had built his gym around the appearance of certainty. His name covered the front windows in silver letters. Photographs of tournament winners lined the lobby, each one framed beneath a sponsor logo. When reporters visited, Victor spoke about discipline standards and protecting the integrity of the sport. He never mentioned that Denise cleaned the floors beneath those photographs. To paying members, he was demanding but fair. To sponsors, he was polished. To younger fighters hoping for a place on his card, he was the gatekeeper between an ordinary gym and a public career. That power made small decisions feel final. Victor chose who received corner support. He chose whose sparring footage went online. He chose which fighters met visiting promoters and which ones were told to keep working. Most people in the gym learned not to ask how those choices were made. Denise did not challenge him openly. She arrived before the evening rush, cleaned the locker rooms, then trained after the last class. Her routine made her almost invisible. Victor preferred it that way. 1 week before weigh-in, he called a team meeting near the main ring. Fighters gathered along the ropes while Victor held a printed tournament roster. "The Desert Crown card is about representing this gym properly," he said. "No vanity entries, no sentimental choices." His eyes passed over Denise without settling on her. Caleb stood near the front in a new team jacket. Victor placed one hand on his shoulder. "We have an opportunity to move Caleb into the open bracket. He has the strength, recent rounds, and the right professional image." A few fighters applauded. Denise continued wiping down a bench. Victor lifted the roster. "There has been confusion caused by an unverified application. That confusion is being corrected." Now the room understood who he meant. A young fighter near the lockers glanced at Denise, then quickly away. Caleb shifted his weight. "Coach, is the slot already open?" "It will be." Denise set the spray bottle down. "My federation status was verified." Victor gave a patient sigh. "This is a team meeting, and you are discussing my application. I'm discussing tournament standards." "Then state the standard." The question landed harder than an accusation. Victor folded the roster once. Active competition history. Coach recommendation. Current rank. Physical suitability. I meet the published requirements. You meet the minimum paperwork requirements. A few people laughed softly, following his tone more than his words. Victor continued. "The tournament gives coaches discretion when a fighter presents a safety concern." Denise's voice remained even. "Where is that rule written?" His jaw tightened. "It is part of the approval process." "Where?" A chair scraped near the wall. Victor lowered the page. "You have not fought on a licensed card in 4 years. I was caring for my father. This is not a memorial event." The room changed. Denise's hand paused on the bench. Victor knew Raymond had trained her. He knew why her record had stopped. He also knew the black belt tag had come from her father's final assessment. Still, he had used the loss as evidence against her. Caleb spoke quietly. "Coach, that's not necessary." Victor ignored him. "You want honesty," he said to Denise. "You are 42. You clean here for wages. You train alone because no coach on staff has approved you for the team. Carrying an old rank does not erase those facts. Denise picked up the bottle again. No, she said, but neither do those facts erase my rank. Victor dismissed the meeting. By the following evening, the gym's private message board announced Caleb as the likely final entrant. A photograph showed him beside Victor beneath the tournament banner. Denise's name was absent. The post did not say she had been rejected. It implied she had never belonged in consideration. That distinction mattered. If Victor formally denied her, she could appeal. If he delayed until the weigh-in window closed, her application would expire without a clear decision. I was not trying to defeat her claim. I was trying to make time defeat it for him. Denise began documenting every change. She kept the altered roster. She saved the message board post. She wrote down the date Victor removed her from the team sparring list. But she did not search for extra accusations. The tournament would not care about wounded pride. It would care whether she qualified and whether her official record had been altered or withheld. 2 days before weigh-in, Denise approached the front desk while Victor was meeting a sponsor in his office. Mara Ellis, the tournament licensing official, had sent a reminder requesting that all gym representatives confirm their entrance. The email was open on the desk computer. Denise saw her own name in the attachment. Status verified. Beside it was a handwritten note. Hold a coach dispute. Before she could read the next line, the receptionist closed the window. That is staff information. It concerns my license. You need to ask Victor. I have. The receptionist lowered her voice. Then you have your answer. No, I have his answer. The woman's expression hardened. You should be careful. He gave you a place to train when nobody else did. Denise almost corrected her. Victor had given her access to an empty room after she spent 6 hours cleaning his building. He had not trained her, sponsored her, or verified her rank. But the receptionist believed the story Victor told because it made his control look like generosity. Denise left without arguing. That night, she trained with the lights partly off because Victor had ordered the main floor closed after midnight. She worked in a narrow strip of space beside the heavy bags. Caleb entered during her final round. He watched her slip a jab pivot outside an imagined right hand and counter to the body. Her breathing stayed measured. Her balance never broke. You don't move like someone who stopped fighting, he said. I stopped competing. Victor says your federation rank came from a small community program. It did. He says they handed out belts. Denise removed her gloves. Did he tell you he fought anyone from that program? Caleb said nothing. Raymond's gym had produced 6 state-level competitors before it closed. Victor had lost to one of them early in his own career. The result was old but not forgotten by Victor. Denise understood then that his resistance was not only about Caleb. Her rank connected her to a gym Victor had spent years dismissing. If she entered his card under that federation record and performed well, people might ask why his cleaner had been qualified all along. They might also ask why he had never offered to coach her. Caleb sat on the ring apron. He told me the tournament desk couldn't find your file. They confirmed it in writing. His eyes moved toward her canvas bag. Then show him. He already knows. That answer unsettled him more than anything else. On weigh-in morning, Victor posted the final gym roster at 9:00 a.m. Caleb's name occupied Denise's division. Beneath the list was a new rule typed in bold. All entries require final coach authorization. Denise photographed it. Then she called the tournament desk and asked one question. Will you release a fighter's original license file directly to the fighter during weigh-in? Mara Ellis answered after checking the policy. With identification, yes. Denise placed the ranking card copy inside a clear sleeve and tied Raymond's black tag to her belt pouch. She now knew why she could not simply walk away. Victor was not only taking a bracket position. I was trying to establish that a coach's preference could erase a fighter's verified record. By 6 that evening, Denise would either force the tournament to examine its own file or Victor's version of her would become the official one. The Desert Crown weigh-in opened at 6:00 p.m. inside a ballroom behind the Las Vegas arena. Folding tables divided the room into registration, medical review, and licensing stations. Fighters moved between them carrying identification cards, sealed gloves, and forms stamped by their gyms. Denise arrived alone. Victor's team entered together in matching jackets. Caleb walked beside him carrying the gym banner under one arm. Victor greeted officials by name, shook hands with sponsors, and spoke as though the bracket already belonged to him. Denise joined the registration line. At 6:07, a volunteer searched the computer and frowned. "Your name is not on the active weigh-in list. My license was verified. Which gym? Low combat." The volunteer checked a second page. "Your coach placed a hold on the entry. Then you remove it. Only licensing can review coach disputes." She pointed toward Mara Ellis's desk across the room. Victor reached it first. He leaned over the table, speaking quietly, while Mara examined the bracket sheet. Caleb stood behind him in warm-up clothes, already carrying a temporary boat number. Denise stopped several feet away. Victor saw her and continued talking. Mara finally said the fighter has the right to request her own record. "There is no valid record," Victor replied. The application attached an outdated community rank with no recent competitive activity. Denise approached the desk. "My rank is current." Victor did not face her. "You were told this was being handled. You removed me from the roster without giving me a written ruling. I protected you from a mismatch. You replaced me with your trainee." Caleb's grip tightened around the boat number. Mara raised one hand. "I need one person speaking at a time." Victor adjusted his jacket. "This is simple. I filed a safety objection. Her recent training cannot be verified by an approved coach." "I train in his building," Denise said. "After hours," Victor answered, "without supervision." "Because you refused to assign supervision. That does not make you tournament ready." Mara checked the clock. "A coach objection does not automatically cancel a verified federation rank, but it can delay final clearance until the file is examined." "How long?" Denise asked. "Records is downstairs. They are processing 3 other disputes." Victor glanced towards the clock. "Then she has missed her chance." "It is 6:11, Mara said. "Weigh-in closes at 7. Victor's smile returned. He understood the pressure better than anyone. Even if Denise proved her rank at 7:01, the bracket would be locked. Caleb would remain in the slot, and Victor could later claim the delay had been unfortunate. Denise placed her identification on Mara's desk. "Please request the original license file now." Mara picked up the phone. Victor's voice dropped. "Think carefully before you make this ugly." Denise met his eyes. "I am asking them to read their own record. You are accusing my gym of misconduct in front of officials. I have not accused anyone. You do not need to. People hear what you are suggesting." Mara spoke to records, gave Denise's full name, then listened. Her pen stopped moving. "What do you mean it was transferred?" Victor's attention sharpened. Mara covered the receiver. "Your digital file was moved into the coach review queue yesterday." "By whom?" Denise asked. "The system does not show that on this screen." Victor spread his hands. "There is your answer. It was flagged." "A flag is not a rejection," Mara said. "It means someone found a problem. It means someone requested review." Victor faced Denise at last. "You should withdraw before this damages your reputation." Denise almost laughed at the word. Her reputation inside his gym had already been reduced to a uniform, a mop bucket, and a training hour no one respected. The only thing still fully hers was the record she had earned before Victor had any control over it. "I will wait for the file," she said. At 6:18, the medical station called Caleb's number. Victor guided him away, but not before whispering something to the registration volunteer. Minutes later, Denise was told she could not proceed to the scale until the rank dispute was resolved. The delay blocked every step after it. No medical stamp, no official weight, no bracket placement. She stood beside the wall while other fighters moved past her. A woman from Victor's evening class recognized Denise and asked, "Are you working here tonight?" "No." The woman noticed the belt pouch. "Oh, you're trying to fight." Victor's assistant answered from nearby. "There was a paperwork problem." He said it gently, almost sympathetically. That made it worse. By 6:24, the explanation had spread through the room. Denise had entered with an unverifiable rank. Denise had misunderstood the rules. Denise had trained alone and expected a licensed card to accept it. Each version became easier to believe because the Victor had status and Denise had no team jacket. Caleb returned from medical review. "They approved my weight," he told Victor. "Good. Stay warm." Caleb glanced toward Denise. "Did they find her file?" Victor's expression warned him away from the question. At 6:29, Mara received another call. "The physical file is not in the active cabinet," she said after hanging up. "Records is checking archived intake." Victor gave a soft, humorless laugh. Because it was never completed. Denise removed the printed email confirming that the file was active. Mara read it. Victor leaned over her shoulder. An automated message proves only that someone uploaded an application. It says rank verified, Denise replied. It says eligibility pending. Pending final weigh-in. Pending review. Mara studied the email again. The language supports her interpretation. Victor's voice hardened. You are relying on a printout she brought herself. It can be matched to the system. Then match it. I knew the system record had been moved. Denise understood his tactic now. Every clue would be dismissed alone. The email was automated. The tag was old. Her training was unofficial. Her missing file was evidence of a problem rather than evidence of interference. She needed the tournament's original document and the ranking card copy together. A634. Mara directed an assistant downstairs to search by Denise's federation number rather than her name. Victor watched him leave. Then he moved closer to Denise. You have made your point, he said quietly. Withdraw, and I will let you keep training after closing. The offer clarified everything. Access to the gym had never been generosity. It was leverage. You will let me, Denise asked. You know what I mean. Yes, she said. I do. His voice became colder. You clean here because I hired you when nobody else would. You train here because I permitted it. Do not confuse tolerance with respect. Denise felt the words strike the place he intended. For 3 years, she had carried her father's debt-cleaned rooms where younger fighters laughed at her and accepted late-night access because it allowed her to keep one promise to herself. Victor wanted that survival to look like dependence. Across the room, an official called that 20 minutes remained. Denise opened her canvas bag. Victor watched her remove the clear sleeve containing the ranking card copy. He reached for it. She drew it back before his fingers touched the plastic. This is Federation property, he said. It is my card. If it has been altered, presenting it could result in suspension. The threat carried farther than his voice. 2 fighters stopped talking. Denise could now see the final shape of the trap. Victor wanted her frightened enough to hide the very proof that could challenge him. If she presented it, he would call it false. If she withheld it, he would claim it never existed. Mara extended her hand. May I examine the copy? Denise did not give it to her yet. First, she said, I want the original tournament file placed beside it. Victor scoffed. There is no original. Denise slid the sleeve back into her bag. Then we will wait until records proves which one of us is lying. At 6:41, the assistant returned from downstairs carrying nothing. Victor's shoulders relaxed. But the man went directly to Mara and whispered in her ear. Her expression changed. The file was not archived, she said. It was checked out yesterday under the gym representative credential. Victor's smile disappeared. Mara reached for the phone again. Records is tracing who used that credential. 19 minutes remained. Denise fastened the black tag securely to her pouch and stayed beside the desk. For the first time that evening, Victor was no longer trying to make her leave. I was trying to learn how much the tournament could still recover before the clock reached 7. At 6:43 p.m., Victor Lowe decided the missing file was no longer the greatest threat in the room. Denise was. She stood beside the tournament desk with 19 minutes left, her black belt tag fastened to the pouch at her waist. Victor had already mocked it, pulled it from her, and told the room she was too small, too old, and too unqualified to enter his card. Now too many witnesses were watching him. He moved toward Mara Ellis's desk before she could complete the call to records. This has gone far enough, he said. Remove her from the weigh-in area. Mara kept the receiver against her ear. On what authority? My authority is the card's supervising coach. You are not the licensing authority. Victor's voice sharpened. She is disrupting operations. Denise had not raised her voice once. She had not blocked a table, touched another fighter, or delayed anyone except herself. That calm made Victor's accusation sound thinner than he intended. A security officer near the ballroom doors began walking toward them. Victor pointed at Denise's canvas bag. She is attempting to submit questionable credentials after her application was flagged. Denise faced Mara. My card is available for examination when the original file arrives. There is no reason to believe it will arrive, Victor said. Mara ended the call. Records found the checkout trail. The security officer stopped beside the desk. Victor's expression remained controlled, but his hand tightened around the bracket sheet. Mara continued. The license file was removed yesterday at 4:16 p.m. using a credential assigned to low combat. That credential is shared by my staff. Who had it? I would need to check. Then check. Victor folded the bracket sheet and placed it under his arm. Not during weigh-in. Denise noticed Caleb standing several feet behind him. The temporary bout number was still pinned to his jacket, but he was no longer warming up. I was listening. Mara checked the clock. 17 minutes. Victor faced the security officer. Escort Ms. Ward outside until this can be reviewed after the event. If she leaves, Mara said she cannot complete weigh-in. That is not my problem. It becomes a licensing problem if a qualified fighter is removed before her record can be examined. Victor lowered his voice. Mara, we both know what this is. She wants attention. She lost her competitive years and now she is trying to recover them by forcing herself onto a card she cannot handle. Denise felt the room narrow around the words. He had questioned her rank. He had reduced her work to a joke. Now he was taking the years she spent caring for her dying father and turning them into proof that she no longer belonged. Victor saw the effect and pressed harder. Her father ran a recreational program, he said. He gave her that rank. There was no neutral standard. The black tag rested against Denise's pouch. Her father had not given it to her because she was his daughter. He had refused to assess her himself. 3 outside evaluators had signed the original ranking card after a 6-hour Federation examination. Raymond had waited until the results were official before fastening the tag to her belt. Victor knew that history. Years earlier, he had trained under one of those same evaluators. Denise's voice stayed level. You know, my assessment was external. Victor gave a dismissive smile. You have a sentimental memory of a small gym. You attended the evaluation. The room shifted toward him. Caleb's head rose. Victor's smile disappeared. I observed part of it. You signed the witness line. A sponsor near the wall lowered his phone. Mara picked up her pen. You signed her rank assessment. Victor's answer came after a pause. A witness signature is not an endorsement. No, Denise said. It confirms you were there. He moved close enough that only those near the desk could hear him clearly. You are about to lose your job over this. The threat did what his public insults had not. Denise's breathing changed. Cleaning the gym was not dignified work in Victor's eyes, but it paid her rent. It paid the remaining bills from Raymond's treatment. Losing it would not create a dramatic collapse in front of the crowd. It would create something quieter and overdue. Notice a smaller grocery list another month measured against debt. Victor knew exactly where to strike. You walk away now, he said, and Monday remains Monday. Denise understood. Her shift would remain. Her late-night access would remain. The lie would remain too. And if I stay, she asked. You will no longer be employed at low combat. Caleb moved forward. Coach. Victor held up one hand. This is between an employer and an employee. Nomara said, it is now part of an active eligibility dispute. Victor ignored her. Choose carefully, Denise. A tournament slot does not pay your bills. No, Denise replied, but my silence has been paying yours. His face hardened. The sentence reached farther than she intended. People nearby began connecting the pieces, the missing file, the substituted trainee, the coach credential, the threat to fire her. Victor lifted Denise's belt pouch from the table again. He held the tag between 2 fingers. This is what she wants you to believe, he announced. That a worn marker from a closed community gym gives her authority over an active coach, a current roster, and a licensed event. Put it down, Mara said. Victor pulled at the cord. The knot tightened instead of releasing. Denise moved 1 step forward. Do not damage it. He smiled toward the crowd. There it is. The real issue. Not safety, not qualification, a keepsake. His fingers twisted the tag until the old cord strained. Denise could hear the fibers pulling. For 1 second, she saw her father's hands fastening it years earlier. Raymond had been too weak to stand for long by then, but he had insisted on tying the knot himself. Victor was threatening the last object Denise had never allowed debt, grief, or necessity to take from her. Let go, she said. Withdraw. Let go. Say publicly that your application was incomplete. Denise did not reach for him. She did not give him the outburst he wanted. Instead, she faced the security officer. I am requesting that you preserve that object as evidence in the licensing review. The officer extended his hand. Sir, place it on the desk. Victor hesitated. That hesitation exposed him more clearly than anger would have. He released the pouch. The tag landed against the tabletop with a small plastic click. Mara moved it out of his reach. 14 minutes, someone called from registration. The records assistant hurried back into the ballroom carrying a thin brown folder. Victor saw it and immediately unfolded the bracket sheet. Caleb has already completed medical review, he said. The bracket is operationally final. No one has been weighed into that slot, Mara answered. I'm finalizing it now. He placed the page in front of Caleb and handed him a pen. Sign the acceptance line. Caleb stared at the paper. Victor lowered his voice. Do it. Denise said nothing. She understood the trap. If Caleb signed and crossed the scale before her file was reviewed, Victor would argue that changing the bracket created an unfair disruption. He was trying to turn his own delay into a reason to preserve the result. Caleb took the pen. The room waited. He glanced at Denise, then at the brown folder now resting beneath the assistant's arm. Did you remove her file? He asked. Victor's eyes narrowed. Sign the form. That is not an answer. You earned this slot. Did I? Victor reached for the pen. Caleb placed it on the table instead. The assistant handed the folder to Mara. A red checkout slip protruded from the front. Denise's Federation number had been written across it in black ink. Mara opened the cover. The first page was not a rejection notice. It was a verified tournament license bearing Denise Ward's name, current division, and active rank status. Victor leaned across the desk. That document is incomplete. Mara blocked his hand. Behind the license was a second page sealed in a transparent evidence sleeve. Only one corner was visible, but Denise recognized the Federation crest. Her original ranking card copy had not been lost. It had been placed inside the file Victor claimed did not exist. Mara raised her eyes to him. Do not leave this room, she said. The clock above the desk read 6:47. 13 minutes remained, and the first undeniable proof had arrived. Victor recovered quickly. That file proves nothing, he said. Mara Ellis kept one hand over the open folder. It proves Ms. Ward has an active tournament license. It proves someone processed an application before the safety objection was complete. The rank status is verified by a closed community program. Denise stood across the desk, watching him rebuild the same argument with fewer places to hide. Victor pointed toward the transparent sleeve. And that copy could have been submitted by anyone. Have not established that it matches a valid Federation record. Mara examined the page without removing it. The Federation crest appeared at the top. Beneath it were Denise's legal name, registration number, division assessment date, and the signatures of 3 evaluators. A fourth signature appeared along the witness line. Victor Lowe. Mara rested one finger beside it. Is this your signature? Victor barely glanced down. It resembles it. Is it yours? I signed hundreds of event forms years ago. Denise spoke quietly. You signed that one after my final assessment. Victor faced the surrounding fighters. Even if I witnessed an old examination, that does not prove she is prepared to compete today. No, Mara said. That is why licenses require renewal. She turned the page. The current renewal stamp had been placed on the reverse side 6 months earlier. The Federation number matched the number in the tournament database. The records assistant, Jonah Pierce, moved beside her with a tablet. I found the original intake scan, he said. It was uploaded 3 weeks ago from the Federation portal, not from the fighter. Victor's eyes moved toward him. Who authorized you to discuss internal records publicly? Mara requested the trace. Jonah enlarged the scan and placed the tablet beside the folder. The digital card and the physical copy matched line for line. Same registration number, same division, same renewal date, same evaluator signatures. The first excuse collapsed. Victor reached for a different one. A current rank does not guarantee bracket eligibility. No one said it did, Mara replied. But your objection specifically stated that her rank could not be verified. Victor's expression tightened. Mara removed a yellow form from the back of the file. This is the coach review request submitted yesterday. Denise recognized Victor's handwriting before Mara read from it. Claimed basis, unverifiable rank, lack of recent supervised training, and safety risk. Victor crossed his arms. All legitimate concerns. Jonah touched the tablet again. The unverifiable rank claim was entered 14 minutes after the Federation verification was viewed through the gym credential. The room absorbed that detail slowly. Victor had not filed the objection because he could not verify Denise's rank. He had filed it after seeing that it was valid. Caleb removed the temporary bout number from his jacket. Victor noticed. Put that back on. Caleb held it in one hand. You told me her record was missing. It was under dispute. You told me it did not exist. Victor's voice hardened. This is not your concern. It became my concern when you used my name to replace hers. Mara examined the checkout slip protruding from the folder. Jonah explained this credential entry. He read from the tablet. The physical file was removed from active licensing yesterday at 4:16 p.m. The credential belongs to Low Combat's registered representative. Victor answered immediately. As I said, staff members share access. Jonah shook his head. Physical checkout requires a signature. He slid the red slip fully into view. Victor's name appeared beneath the time. A witness near the wall whispered he took it himself. No one corrected him. Victor stared at the slip, then at Jonah. That could have been signed by my assistant. Jonah pointed to a small image printed beneath the signature. The records window captures an identification scan for every physical checkout. Mara rotated the slip. A grainy copy of Victor's Nevada driver's license appeared at the bottom. The room understood before he did. Victor had personally removed the verified license file. He had then told Denise, Caleb, Mara, and the surrounding fighters that no such file existed. He had used the missing document as evidence against the woman whose file he had hidden. His confidence fractured. This is being misrepresented, he said. I removed it for a legitimate coaching review. Why was it not returned? Mara asked. I intended to return it after speaking with the Federation. Did you contact them? My staff handles those calls. Jonah searched the file history. There are no outgoing review notes and no Federation inquiry attached to the case. Victor gestured toward Denise. You are letting paperwork override safety. Watch her move. She is undersized for this bracket. Denise answered before Mara could. The listed bracket is 135 pounds. Victor paused. I weighed 133 this morning, she continued. Caleb was moved down from 145 after the withdrawal. Caleb gave a reluctant nod. That is true. Victor pointed at him. You were cleared. For the weight, Caleb said, not for her slot. Mara placed Denise's identification beside the tournament license. Ms. Ward, present the supporting copy. Denise opened her canvas bag. The room watched her remove the clear sleeve Victor had tried to discredit minutes earlier. She did not hand it across immediately. She placed her black belt pouch beside the file first. The worn tag rested against the edge of the brown folder. Its faded code matched the assessment designation printed on the ranking card. Victor gave a brittle laugh. A matching number on an old tag is not evidence. Denise slid the ranking card copy to Mara. No, she said, the Federation record is evidence. The tag is the reason I knew you would recognize it. Victor's gaze dropped toward the four worn characters he had covered with his thumb. Denise continued. You attended the assessment because your coach was one of my evaluators. You signed the witness line. When you grabbed that tag tonight, you hid the code before anyone could read it. A sponsor replayed the video on his phone. The image showed Victor holding the tag with his thumb directly across the stamped characters. His earlier gesture no longer looked casual. Mara compared the copy with the original scan one final time. Rank confirmed, she said. Renewal confirmed. Tournament license active. Weight class eligible pending official scale. Victor leaned over the desk. You cannot clear her while my safety objection remains open. I can reject an objection based on false information. You do not have authority to accuse me of falsifying. I am not deciding the sanction tonight, Mara interrupted. I am deciding whether your objection has enough credibility to block weigh-in. She marked the form with a red stamp. Objection suspended records review. Victor reached for the bracket sheet. The security officer moved between them. Mara continued. Your authority over this card is temporarily frozen, pending review of the file removal and the replacement entry. That card is mine. It is licensed by the tournament. I brought the sponsors, and the tournament controls the bracket. Victor searched the room for support. The people who had laughed at Denise now avoided his eyes. Fighters from his own gym stood apart from him. Caleb placed the temporary bout number on the desk. I'm not taking a position that was cleared through this, he said. Victor's voice rose. You are throwing away your chance. No, Caleb replied. I am refusing hers. That distinction settled over the room. Mara directed Denise toward the scale. Victor tried once more. She has not completed medical review. The window closes in 8 minutes. Denise picked up her identification and ranking card copy. Then stop using the rest of my time. She walked to the scale without waiting for anyone to escort her. The registration volunteer entered her name manually, while Jonah restored the license file to active status. Medical staff checked her clearance pulse vision and paperwork in rapid sequence. At 6:56, Denise removed her shoes. The digital scale settled at 133.4 pounds. Weight confirmed, the official announced. Mara printed a new bracket sheet. Denise's name returned to the final open position. Caleb's was removed. Victor stood near the licensing desk, no longer touching the documents or giving instructions. The security officer requested his representative badge and sealed the red checkout slip inside an evidence envelope. Mara addressed him in a formal voice. Effective immediately, you are suspended from controlling tonight's card. The tournament board will open an emergency sanction review. You will be given notice and an opportunity to respond. Victor stared at Denise. You planned this. She fastened the black belt pouch at her waist. I requested my own file. You wanted to humiliate me. No, Denise said. I wanted you to stop using my silence as permission. He had no answer that could survive the record on the desk. At 6:59, the weigh-in window closed. Denise's license was active. Her weight was recorded. Her position was official. The gym cleaner Victor had dismissed would enter the ring on merit. And the coach who claimed to control the card had lost that control by trying to bury the one file he should never have touched. The sanction review began before the first bout of the evening. Victor Lowe was not removed from the building in handcuffs, and no official declared him guilty on the spot. The tournament board did something more believable. It froze his authority. His representative badge was secured. His access to licensing records was suspended. A second coach was assigned to manage the fighters already approved for the card, while Mara Ellis preserved the checkout slip, the altered bracket, and the digital access history. Victor was permitted to submit a statement. I was not permitted to touch the roster. Denise sat alone on a bench outside the medical room while an official wrapped a new paper band around her wrist. Her hands were steady now, but the anger had not disappeared. It had simply lost the power to direct her. Across the hallway, members of Victor's gym stood in small groups. Some had laughed when he held up her belt pouch. Others had remained quiet because speaking against him could cost them training time matches or a place on the team. Caleb approached first. He carried no bout number. I should have questioned him sooner, he said. Denise adjusted the tape around one wrist. You questioned him when it mattered. I still believed him before that. So did a lot of people. He glanced toward the ballroom doors. That does not make it right. No, she said, it makes it easy. Caleb absorbed the difference. Then he held out her water bottle. Someone from the gym had filled it and brought it from the weigh-in room. Behind him stood 2 assistant trainers, the front desk receptionist, and 3 fighters. Denise had cleaned up after for years. None seemed certain what to say. One of the younger fighters lifted a roll of hand tape. Do you need help? Denise studied their faces. They were not suddenly heroes. They were people confronting how comfortably they had accepted the version of her offered by the person with the most authority. I need a corner, she said. Caleb nodded. You have one. The gym crew followed Denise toward the preparation room. No matching jackets were handed to her. No sponsor rushed forward with a contract. The restoration was smaller and more honest. Someone carried her bag. Someone checked the laces on her gloves. Someone stood outside the door so she could prepare without interruption. When her name was announced later that night, Denise entered the arena beneath the same lights Victor had tried to keep from her. The opponent waiting across the ring was younger and taller. Denise did not need to defeat her in some impossible display to prove that she belonged. She needed to compete with the skill her record said she possessed. The first round tested her timing. The second tested her endurance. In the third, Denise stopped chasing exchanges and returned to the compact movement Raymond had drilled into her years earlier. Forward angle, pivot, reset. She lost 1 round and won 2. The judges awarded her a narrow decision. There was no wild celebration. Denise bowed to her opponent, thanked the officials, and left the ring breathing hard while Caleb and the gym crew waited at the steps. For the first time, they were not standing behind Victor. They were standing behind her. The board's formal findings came 12 days later. Victor admitted removing the file but claimed he had done so to complete a safety review. The Access record, his written objection, and witness statements showed that he had viewed Denise's verified rank before describing it as unverifiable. The board suspended his card control privileges for 6 months pending additional ethics training and placed the gym under independent licensing oversight for the next tournament cycle. Victor retained the right to appeal. He also lost 2 sponsors before the review ended. Neither company wanted its name attached to a coach accused of manipulating a bracket for his own trainee. The consequence was serious but procedural. It did not erase his gym or his career overnight. It removed the authority he had abused and made future abuse harder. Denise's employment ended exactly as Victor had threatened. On Monday morning, her building access code no longer worked. A termination envelope had been taped inside the glass door. She stood outside in her gray cleaning shirt reading the single sentence that called her dismissal a breakdown of trust. Then the door opened from inside. Caleb and 4 other fighters walked out carrying their equipment. They had not organized a dramatic boycott. They had simply decided they would no longer train under Victor while the review remained active. One assistant coach had already rented evening hours at a small recreation center across town. He offered Denise paid work, helping maintain the space and leading conditioning sessions for adult fighters returning after long layoffs. The pay was slightly better than her cleaning wages. The hours allowed her to train before midnight. Denise accepted. 3 months later, the recreation center added a weekly class for adults who believed they had waited too long to return to competition. Some arrived after raising children. Some came after illness, divorce, grief, or years spent caring for someone else. Denise never promised them a tournament. She promised them a place where effort would be measured honestly. The black belt tag remained attached to her pouch, but she replaced the strained cord Victor had nearly torn. She used a simple black lace and tied the knot the way Raymond had taught her. Not too tight, strong enough to hold. The original ranking card went back into the metal box beneath her bed. The tournament license file remained in official custody until the appeal period ended. Denise kept 1 certified copy in her training bag. She no longer carried it because she expected every room to doubt her. She carried it because discipline had taught her that dignity and documentation were not opposites. Sometimes the truth needed both. On the first evening of the new class, Denise finished sweeping the recreation center floor before the students arrived. Caleb watched from the doorway. "You know we could hire someone else to do that," he said. "I know." "Then why are you still sweeping?" Denise rested both hands on the broom. "Because the work was never beneath me." She glanced toward the ring. The lie was. Students began entering one by one, leaving work bags near the wall and wrapping tired hands beneath the bright gym lights. Denise set the broom aside and fastened the pouch around her waist. The old tag touched her hip as she crossed the mat. This time no one laughed. Have you ever seen someone's job age or appearance used to erase what they had earned? Share what you think real discipline looks like in the comments. And subscribe for more stories about quiet people who refuse to let arrogance rewrite the truth.